This episode of Wow Superheroes really shook up the landscape as we see a woman step forward and knock down the Wow World Champion in a really big way. Will she be the new number one contender for the Wow World title, or will the Fab Four just continue to slink away from anyone who tries to stand in line for the title and the tag titles as well? Then we have more action with Generation Texas taking on The Last Call and so many other shows. This is the Wow Superhero After Show.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Hey, 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 y'all. Happy Monday. And welcome to Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. And welcome to the Wow Women of Wrestling Superheroes After Show, coming at you live every Monday, 7 Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Standard, and whatever other time you're in for wherever you're located on the planet Earth. We are on to get into the happenings of this amazing all-women show. Of course, I'm your girl, Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, host and writer for this amazing platform here, and color commentator featured on the Belladonna Division, Battle Club Pro, Black Girl Magic 2022, and soon to be Spartan Wrestling in Gaston, Alabama. But of course, I am not alone. I am here with my super sister, my tag team partner, the creator of NCAT We Trust, backstage correspondent extraordinaire, and just an all-around amazing person and super mom, and a person who got to work media at AEW Collision this weekend with Aisha, our other fellow co-host. She is Katrina Blake. How are you, Kat, after the cool weekend you had?
It was such a great, always gives us great intros. I am fine, just really tired. It's just been a couple of crazy weekends, just a lot of wrestling, and so I am tired, but I'm happy to be here. And thank you again for that intro. Super awesome as always.
Absolutely. You have just been popping off lately with all of your correspondent, all of your commentary, and all of your media work. And I just wanted to say on this public platform how proud I am of you, constantly, raising the bar for us all and just being who you are while also being true to who you are and being a great friend and also being a mother that's always present. And it is just such a beautiful thing to see. So yeah, and I'm just really honored to host this show with you. And I just want to get that out there because we need to give each other flowers while we can still smell them. And I love you so very much. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. I've just been Yes, I just wanted to just get that out there and just say that. Like, I've just been in my feelings, all weekend long because of so many different things that have been happening in my life and just in the lives of other people that I care about. But, we just have to tell the people that are close to us that we love them, while they can still hear it because you just never know. Life be lifing. So we just have to show love where we can. So, of course, since we're here to talk about Wow Superheroes, this weekend I was actually able to watch the documentary series that's on Pluto TV called My Road to Wow, where they actually talk to a number of the Wow superheroes about their experiences and their journeys leading up to becoming a Wow superhero. And it was just really amazing stories to hear from the likes of G.I. Jane, Americana, Leia Makoa, the Carlson twins, Miami Sweet Heat, and so many other women as well. It was just really like heart tugging stuff. So I do recommend that if you have Pluto TV, which is very much free, and if you want more Wow content, please go on there and look it up. When you can also watch past episodes of Wow on there as well if you want to catch up. So yeah, it was just really good stuff and really heartwarming stories, and very relatable stories that you can hear from these women who were able to rise to the occasion of being on this amazing show that we get to talk about every week. So yeah, it was just really good stuff. But of course, we're here to talk about the actual show itself and this episode that came on. So Katrina, how did you feel about this episode as a whole before we get into the nitty gritty of it?
uh, Before I do that, because I almost forgot, if you guys haven't seen at San Diego's Comic Con, the biggest Comic Con in the US, some of the ladies from WoW was with Headlock I know the guy who runs Headlock Mike, super awesome dude. Got to meet him a few years ago in New York, and so he's been a little MIA for a little bit, and so it was really nice to kind of see him go big at San Diego. He had quite a few wrestling stars, including Jeannie Buss, as well as Kandi, Krush, and Genesis of Exodus. So if you guys got to see them, super awesome. Again, ladies are absolutely amazing. We did get me and Steph both got to meet Kandi Krush last year, and she's super sweet. And so just wanted to say, you guys, I love that you guys are at the Comic Con, ladies, and I'm hoping we can get you at more stuff, maybe outside of California as well. But back to your question. I thought it was a really good episode. I liked the matches this week. I liked a lot of the solo stuff we got, but in particular, the main event was like, okay, I'm seeing it, and so I really, really enjoyed it. So fantastic episode for this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned Comic Con because, yeah, that was amazing to see them there. And just, I can't imagine meeting Jeannie Buss because not only is she like an owner of WoW, she's like the owner and the president of the Los Angeles Lakers. Like, a dynasty basketball team and my personal favorite basketball team ever. Like, what? Like, that would make my head explode. Like, I just don't know if I would have been able to make it through that visit. But for those who did get to meet those ladies there, like, congratulations to y'all, and I hope you had a good time at San Diego Comic-Con. I know it's really huge and there's a lot going on. But either way, I'm really glad you guys had fun. But of course, if you did watch this episode of WoW, and if you're watching with us on live on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, and everywhere else we're live and on YouTube, thank you for watching. And please, feel free to comment on the parts that you really enjoyed and tell us who your favorite WoW superhero is, as we get into the show further and further. But yeah, it's just really cool stuff going on for the ladies of WoW. And hopefully they do get to travel more outside of California because, California is a hub state. But hopefully one day they'll get to tour. That would be fantastic. But we're here to get into the episode and I can't wait. Okay, so the first match was a tag team match between The Last Call, which is, of course, the team of Reina Del Rey and Wrecking Ball versus who I call Team Generation Texas, Steffi Slays and J Flo, aka Jennifer Florez. Now, this match came about because, of course, The Last Call has been going on a dominant streak headed towards what they believe, is rightfully theirs, which is the WoW Tag Team titles. So they want to, be more undefeated and rack up those wins in order to get a chance. But in the midst of all of that, they really ran through um this was really sad for me. Like, this was really sad for me. They really attacked Steffi Slays and Jennifer Florez. Like, they really isolated Jennifer Florez throughout this entire match. Steffi Slays came back from an injury that she sustained to her hip, and she was going to, be resilient and fight through the injury anyway. But these women, of the Last Call, were so smart that they took advantage of the fact that she was injured and knocked her out pretty early in the match, knocking her off of the apron, and wound up fighting and beating up on Jennifer Florez as much as they could, isolating her, throwing her around the ring, slamming her down, and all of the above with those clubbing blows that we know them for and those powerful hits. Like, it was just really sad to see sort of like this one-sided, tag team fight. And even though, as you can see, Jennifer Florez tried her best to fight, through being the only person, in the ring for a long period of time after Steffi Slays got knocked out multiple times, it was just almost hopeless to see her, fight against these two women who are just so imposing and so dominant. And in the end, The Last Call wound up winning. Like, it was so sad. And then after they won, they just threw J Flo out of the ring, just threw her out, just flung her out like she was like a sack of potatoes. I was like, y'all just disrespectful. It was so sad. But Jennifer really did try, though, and I know it was just really painful to see because she's such a good wrestler, and so is Steffi Slays as a WoW OG. But it really feels like The Last Call really is, focused and locked in on trying to be the next dominant tag team in WoW. But this was really sad to see here. It was really, really sad. So, Katrina, how did you feel about this match as The Last Call seek to run through the tag division on WoW?
It was unfortunate in regards to Steffi. Like, Stephanie really had like no chance in that. and it kind of sucked to kind of be like injured for a little bit, and then that's what happened when you come back. And then poor Jen, she tried. She definitely tried, but it's like in a situation like that, it's like, what can you do? It's like a 2-on-1, pretty much. And then they also had two women who were bigger than you. They're more dominant than you are. And I felt like, unfortunately, as much as we love these ladies, it just wasn't their night. It wasn't their night. But again, I do think in regards to Wrecking Ball and Reina that they're showing like this is what we got. And again, this could really be a dangerous thing for the rest of the roster, in particular those that are tag teams. I feel like if this is what they're doing, this could really be an issue for the other women on the roster that are in tag teams. And while I don't think they can necessarily do that with like somebody like the Tongas, who are probably not going to let them try to bogart them in that way, I do think some of the other tag teams we have seen here, this might be an issue for, because if it's not like, while they might have other things that I appreciate them for as a superhero, some of them, are not always where you kind of probably need to be a little bit more tough with certain opponents. And, some of them, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but some of the teams don't necessarily have that. And I feel like in the regard to a tag team like the Wrecking Ball and Red, I feel like, yeah, this is something you might have to really step it up with them, or they're going to just run through you. And that's unfortunately what happened. And so it was sad in one end because I'm like, oh man, but it also was like, damn, what can they what can they do going forward? Like, what's gonna happen if they face Miami Sweet Heat, or if they face somebody like the Tongas? And so that's like that kind of thing. Like, I'm kind of watching that to see what's gonna happen with them next in that regard. But also, I did feel bad, like, damn, like no chance at all, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, you made a couple of really good points there, Katrina. Like, when you think about the tag division, you think you, of course, consider your champions, the Carlson twins, Miami Sweet Heat, they're the champions, right? And then you also have, Siren, the Voodoo Doll, and Holodead, and then you also have Chantilly and Foxy Fears. But then when you mention the Tonga twins, who have been our fave since we started covering this show, like even last week when Siren the Voodoo Doll and Holodead, fought against them, like these are women who they're evenly matched with. You can't just knock those women down and just think, that you're just going to run all over them, because they are evenly matched with them. And when it comes to the last call, if they had to fight the Tonga twins, who once upon a time fought throughout a tournament to qualify to face the Carlson twins for those titles, like it would be a brawl of a fight. And I think that would be amazing. But when it comes to everyone else, I'm afraid, like, I hate to even say that about these other women, because these women are athletically sound. But at the same time, it's like the last call seemed to have everything locked in, and they play to each other's strengths really well. And it's just, they can just run through everyone else. And it's really sad to see. But at the same time, it's really crazy. It's just really crazy stuff. The last call really is locked in, and you hate to see how they did them like that tonight, like this past weekend, but they really did do them like that, and they really are ready to face the Carlson twins for those tag titles, which makes me feel like the Fab Four really is watching them and trying to see how they can outsmart them, because of course, with their enforcer and with the Fabulous on the Star, they're going to think and concoct some plans in order to keep the titles with them, and do it in a smart and strategic way, because these are women that you just can't, run through easily. Like, you really do have to sort of outsmart them in a way and outmaneuver them, which was sadly not the case for Steffi Slays and Jennifer Florez. So hopefully Team Generation Texas can bounce back and fight another day. But the last call are really on fire here. So yeah, they wound up winning this match. So congratulations to them. And hopefully, they'll be able to fight the Carlson twins pretty soon. So the next match on the docket that we get to talk about is G.I. Jane versus Coach Campanelli. Now, this match came about because, of course, backstage, we saw them have an interaction where, of course, Coach and G.I. Jane and their respective teams, Team Spirit and Team Cold Discipline, had a lot of, wars back and forth over the past couple of months. And so Coach kind of just looked at G.I. Jane and said, yeah, you look kind of different without your team. And G.I. Jane was like, yeah, so do you. And so essentially they were just staring each other down and was like, you want to fight? You want to fight? And that's essentially how it happened. You know, they wanted to fight each other and test each other's strength in the ring without their, you know, partners and without their teams. So this is how this match came about. This was a very physical fight between these two. GI Jane is one of my women to watch, you know, as she continues to evolve as a WoW superhero. But then you also have Coach Campanelli being her regular physical self. As you can see in this picture, she was throwing her down with a lot of tosses and over her hip and stuff. And then you also had GI Jane, who tried to end the match relatively early with her big boot, but Coach Campanelli was ducking it. You know, she was utilizing her agility to move out of the way. And then in this picture, you see Coach Campanelli sort of running on top of her back and then running into her with a move that kind of reminded me a lot of Natalia. After she did it, it was like when she runs across your back and then she runs into you for like a clothesline that's sort of like you're sliding across the mat. Like it was just really good stuff from both of these women. Like this was one of the more physical fights I've ever seen. Now this is where the big boot actually connected, and this is where you would normally think the match would end because GI Jane has won plenty of matches, tag team and singles, with this big boot before. But Coach Campanelli kicked out and tried to hit her special move onto GI Jane, but then GI Jane ducked out of it. But she wound up hitting that special DDT again, and Coach Campanelli wound up winning. And I thought that was really incredible. I was like, this is a major victory for Coach Campanelli, because just a few weeks ago we were just talking about, or if not last week, we were just talking about her and how she has a tendency to speak, you know, on behalf of her, you know, teammates in Ariel, Sky, and Randy Rara, and how she just likes to, you know, bogart, you know, their voices out of it and only center herself. This was where she centered herself in this singles match, and she wound up coming out the victor. So I know this must put some air in her sales and probably air in the sales of Team Spirit, which I'm more than sure she instructed them to watch this match. So this was really amazing from both women, but Coach Campanelli came out the victor here. So Katrina, how did you feel about this match and the growth of GI Jane as an athlete?
I think this was a fantastic match. It definitely was very physical, and it actually like not that GI Jane is it because I feel like she is. I feel like out of her group from the very beginning, she was probably one of the most physical ones. Like the disciplinarian has tweaked and found, as I said, she started really using the things that could be an asset. So like using her size, using her height. And these are things that you can use to your advantage in wrestling. And I felt like G.I. Jane kind of was already on that wavelength when she first got there, as far as using, you know, muscles, using her height. And so this, I wasn't surprised on her end. I was very surprised with Coach Campanelli keeping up with her in regard to that level of being a bit more like physical. And I was like, okay, and not this is not to say Coach Campanelli can't get physical, but I'm thinking of like other matches she's had, even when it required her to kind of do a little bit more in some cases, like some tag team matches she had with Randy Rara. And I still, even with that, I don't think she's gotten as physical as she did in this match this past weekend. And so it was actually really good to see that as well, because I know what I said about I'm all for, trying to teach a lesson, but there's ways to do that without necessarily being mean about it. Again, as a parent, it's like there's ways to tell a lesson, and you can teach something and hope a person you're talking to learns it without necessarily being mean. But I do respect that in her regard of, this is just me by myself showcasing, well, I guess this is why we call you coach, huh? And I liked that part. And I guess, of course, I feel like it's going to probably make her more cocky in a way because she was able to kind of duck the big boots a couple of times, and she still pulled off a win with everything that happened. She still got that win. I do think this is probably going to add to how she's already feeling about herself, as far as she knows everything and you got a good coach for everything. I feel like that it's gonna probably make it a little bit more now. But I did appreciate that this is her kind of showing more than what she can do. And also in G.I. Jane's regard, because she was kind of doing this really solo for somebody who, again, there's a bit of a size difference there. and she did her thing. And so it was good to see both of them really kind of do this on their own. And again, we've seen Coach Campanelli wrestle by herself before, but again, it's nice to see that, especially after the whole tag team thing and the stuff that was kind of happening the last couple of weeks. It was kind of funny, and she was kind of being a little bit weird about it, and it was kind of nice to see, well, let's remind you guys what I can do. And I think that's what she did. And so if people forgot, she reminded people with this match, I think. And so I think it was a really fantastic match, and I think it was a great showing from both women.
Absolutely. Like, I was so proud of them in this match, even though of course, you have the whole heel versus face dynamic, if you want to call Coach really like a face or whatever, kind of in between her. Either way, I was just so proud of both women. And then it's really amazing in the context of having heard G.I. Jane's story and how she rose up to become, a top drill sergeant, and how her motivation is to always be the best at what she does, because she mentioned on My Road to WoW, on that episode that featured her, that when her biggest inspiration from wanting to be a drill sergeant was to be, the best in the top in her field when it came to, enlisting in the U.S. Army. And of course, we thank her for her service and thank every veteran for their service, in every branch of the military. And it's just, you can kind of see it, more and more as she grows in the ring. Like, she is very physical and she utilizes all of her body parts to her best advantage, and she learns really well. And I feel like eventually, she is rising in my rankings for somebody to be, for someone to watch and for someone to be WoW World Champion someday. Like, I really feel like she could do it because she's just, learning so much, and she's just rising more and more, and she's just getting better and better. But it's like, even with Coach, like, she's learning more too. And it's just really great to watch these women just grow more in their confidence as wrestlers, or as women who didn't necessarily like start out wanting to wrestle immediately. But then once they got into it and once they've, learned the mechanics of it, it's becoming comfortable with them. And to watch them rise, week after week, it's just an inspiring and an insane thing. And it's just really great for the both of them. And yes, this is going to make Coach Campanelli, more cocky or whatever. Like, you should watch my match, just to study it, blah, 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 or whatever. But at the same time, G.I. Jane has nothing to be ashamed of in this match. Like, this is probably one of the best matches she's wrestled in terms of her singles work, but I can't wait to see more of what she has to offer. But Coach Campanelli came out with the win. So Team Spirit, has more wind under their sails. Their fearless leader won that match against her. So who's to say, maybe one day, Team Tough Discipline or Team Cold Discipline might fight with Team Spirit again. Or this might be the end of their rivalry. Who really knows? But either way, Coach won in a pretty cool fashion. So yeah, before we go into the rest of the episode of WoW, we have to take a quick break because, of course, we have to let you know all the other shows that we have on Women's Wrestling Talk. So we will be right back after this amazing and important message.
Hey peeps, TK Trinidad here, boss lady of Women's Wrestling Talk. And I want to say thank you so much for watching, because you've got millions of options. Plus, you don't have to worry about sharing your password to check us out. But while you're here, hopefully you know we have so many more shows to watch, like Turnbuckle Glam, Raw Post Show, WoW Post Show, AEW Dynamite Post Show, Women's Wrestling Army Post Show, NXT Post Show, Impact Wrestling Post Show, AEW Rampage and SmackDown Live Post Show, On the Scroll, ROH Post Show, WWT Live, plus all of our interviews with the hottest women's wrestlers in the game. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Check out our website at www.talkpod.com and follow us on all social media platforms at www.talkpod, and make sure to spread the word. That means send this to the group chat. Yes, even the person with the green bubble. Thanks again so much for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Ciao for now.
And of course, we always send love to our fearless leader, CEO TK Trinidad, for creating this amazing platform for us, by us, and it's FUBU, y'all. We get to talk about women's wrestling of all different forms. And of course, even in that commercial didn't even cover all the other shows that we have, because we're creating more shows to talk about more wrestling. Like in terms of Japanese women's wrestling, we have another show that's on the horizon, if not have it's already started, that's happening too. So we're creating more content for you guys to not miss anything when it comes to women's wrestling and just wrestling as a whole. So we are growing out here, y'all, and it's great. So please continue to support us and follow us everywhere you see us doing stuff, and just continue to support us, because we are out here doing the work and popping off in these streets or online. Either way, we here. So, moving forward with the rest of the episode of WoW, we had another match between Fury and Sandy Shore of Spring Break 24/7. And of course, they did, show a little bit of a recap of what's been going on with the Heavy Metal Sisters as they've been sort of, tearing through the women's division of WoW. Like, there's just been a lot of stuff going on with them. At one point, that it was almost looking like they were going to break up, but then they got back together and, sort of rekindled that heavy metal flame. And then, of course, they attacked Jesse Jones and Americana, tore up Americana's son's Levi's tablet, and now they've gone and began to target Sandy Shore and her partner Crystal Waters. So this is where this match has taken place. This match also felt pretty one-sided in the sense that Sandy Shore, even though she did give it a good try, she was fighting Fury and Mesmeriah and Razor, who's a friend of the show, of course, but they were just being bad to her, and I didn't like it. I did not like how bad they were being to Sandy Shore. It was like for every time Sandy Shore, tried to bounce back against Fury, it was almost like the girls were always just trying to like get in her way, mess in her hair, try to injure her, trip her up outside of the ring. Like, it was just really an unfair fight. It was like a 3-on-1 situation. And Sandy did show some more athleticism here that we are seeing from her, because she is somewhat of a newer character that we are seeing on WoW show up on television. Like, she was really impressive throughout the match, but here again, it was just a 3-on-1 situation and she really couldn't fight back as much as she wanted to. And it was just so sad to see, because you're just like, girl, like, reinforcements, get you some more friends, get Crystal or somebody else to come out with you, because these Heavy Metal Sisters are just out here to just destroy. And Fury wound up winning the match. And after she won the match, her and the Heavy Metal Sisters proceeded to attack Sandy Shore even further. And then even as they were attacking her, like a pack of dogs, not being rude or anything, but they really were attacking her and ganging up on her like that. But then Crystal Waters and Americana came out to defend her honor afterward, and they proceeded to beat up on them as they ran away. So this isn't over between Americana and the Heavy Metal Sisters by a long shot. So yeah, Fury wound up winning the match. So Katrina, how did you feel about this match, which felt a little bit on the same vibe as the last match we just talked about, but just on a different level? Well, at least the first match that we talked about, but it was on a different level. But either way, how did you feel about it?
Like I said, it's a weird thing because I like the Heavy Metal Sisters. Obviously, I love Razor and always a bit of a soft spot just because she's the reason I'm even part of women's wrestling talk. So it's always a little like a soft spot. But I was like, oh man, guys, like it's like it's one of those like you want to be like, yay, but no, why are we going this route? And so it made me sad in that regard. It's like we didn't have to jump her afterwards. It wasn't even necessary. She already won the match. Do we have to do all this extra stuff? And so that made me sad because it was like, all right, like, I didn't even have to do all of this. Is like it's like kicking somebody when they're down. It's like you already won. You didn't have to do extra beat up that people had to like other ladies had to come and help her. Like that's insane to me. But it's also like I got a little bit of a soft spot for Razor, and so it's always hard like, girl, why are we doing this? Like, can we not do this? Make it hard to defend you when you do this. But otherwise, I thought it was again solid match in regards to kind of seeing them back on kind of on the same page because we didn't know what was going to happen with the Heavy Metal Sisters with all the stuff that was going on within 2023. It just seemed like we didn't really know where it was going or what was happening, and so that part was good, but I felt like it was a bit unfortunate. Like you won the match, you didn't have to like. It's kind of a bit of an overkill. Like you didn't do all that extra stuff. So that's I guess my thoughts. It's like, damn, you guys, like you're making it really hard to be a fan. But hopefully, when for the next time for Sandy, at least that it'll just be a little better for her. I feel like that's just kind of sad because it was also like a 3-on-1 type situation, and it's just like, you lost because of the situation. It doesn't say anything about your skill. It just this was the situation, and you didn't win, and so it was solid. I just wish that they didn't go that route with it, I guess, but otherwise it was solid. It just was like, God, girlies, why kind of vibes.
Like, seriously, why they gotta be so rude? Like, that's just how I feel about it. Like, why y'all had to be so rude? Like, come on. Like, they were just, oh, it was so tough to watch. But I am glad that Americana really did come out, to defend the honor of Jessie, who we hadn't really seen in a while due to her injury. And also coming out with Crystal Waters, too. Like, she was just not in the mood for any of it. So I am glad that someone is standing up to them, even though they have this mean streak that they've gotten. So this isn't the last, of course, that we've seen of Americana and them. And I actually am glad about that. But it is hard to root for the Heavy Metal Sisters with them being, just so extra, extra nasty to everybody. They was just like, come on, like, why y'all got to do that and attack her when she's down? It's like, y'all already, use all the dirty tactics that y'all wanted to use in order to win the match. Why y'all gotta act extra? Don't be extra. Like, stop it. But Fury wound up winning, and that was really cool. So congrats to them for that, I guess. Now, they did announce it next week that I believe the Carlson sisters do have a tag team title match coming up, and I forgot who they're going to be fighting, and I'm so mad about it. Charged to my head, not my heart. But I did live tweet about it, and I can't look at it right now, but they do have a tag team title match on the next episode of WoW. So I am interested in seeing how that's going to play out. So yeah, that's what's going to happen on the next episode. But we got to get to this main event because some cool stuff happened. Some really intriguing stuff happened, and I am so pumped to get to it. So the main event was Kandi Krush and Princess Aussie versus Vickie Lynn McCoy, the enforcer of the Fab Four, and the WoW World Champion, my mortal enemy, Penelope Pink, of course, coming out there with the fabulous Lana Star. Now, this happened because, of course, Kandi Krush had her amazing opportunity to face off against Penelope Pink for the title a few weeks ago, and it wound up not working out for her because, of course, Penelope Pink did, beat her up a bit, almost tried to break her arm in a couple of places, and she wound up winning the match due to some dirty tactics, while also at the same time, getting the best of her opponent. And then after that, Vickie Lynn came out and proceeded to beat up on her a little bit more. And then Princess Aussie came to her rescue because, of course, they aligned their powers together a few months ago. So this is how this tag team match is taking place. Princess Aussie really had a fire under her, and she wanted to fight Vickie and Penelope because she just didn't like that they were fighting Kandi after she had just already beaten her. So this is how this tag match took place. Here you see Vickie Lynn McCoy posturing and being her regular "I'm gonna destroy you" self because I'm, the big Oklahoma tornado and stuff. And Kandi Krush did sort of fall a little bit on the wayside a bit, but not so much so to the point to where she wasn't able to fight back. Penelope and Vickie did isolate her a little bit, in the beginning parts of that match. And honestly, like, Kandi did fight as much as she possibly could, but once she got that hot tag to Princess Aussie, Miss Ma'am decided she was going to destroy everyone. And she did not stop. Like, Princess Aussie did not stop beating up on Penelope, beating up on Vickie, leading Kandi and telling her, which way to go in terms of beating up on them outside of the ring and inside of the ring. Like, Princess Aussie was just on fire, okay? Jumping and diving onto the girls, as you can see in that picture, and high-fiving the audience members. Like, she was lit. Do you understand me? Princess Aussie is her. And if this episode and the one where she fought against Tormenta didn't prove it already, now you understand. Princess Aussie is her. And even when Penelope tried to hit the pretty in pink onto her by and then raking her in the eyes, she didn't let that stop her, and she reversed it and then hit the cutter from down under to Penelope Pink and won the match. Penelope got pinned by Princess Aussie. Let me say this again, just in case you missed it. Princess Aussie pinned the Wild World Champion in tag team action. That is some pretty lit stuff. She is on fire, and by all accounts, she should be the number one contender. She should be next up to face Penelope for the Wild World title. I was so thrilled by this, 100% thrilled by this. Like, oh my God. She did so well in this match. And not discounting Candy Crush, because she did a great job too, knocking out Vickie Lynn McCoy in the last parts of the match outside of the ring. Like, she did a phenomenal job as well. But Princess Aussie really has been showing out here lately. And, she's her. She's her. She is her. So, Katrina, how did you feel about this match? And how do you feel about Princess Aussie's performance and what this could lead to in her future?
I, we have been talking about how she's been coming through, like showcasing, and like before she had matches, but I feel like she's on a different, I don't want to say different level, but I feel like she's trying to prove something this time. And I feel like she's been doing that in her most recent matches. And so, we love Candy Crush and everything, but I feel like in this regard, Princess Aussie really did shine a little bit more. And I think it's because she kind of went in like, whatever, I got this. Like, not to say that she didn't need Candy Crush. I think they were fine together. I just think she went in with this, I got this. And she did mention on Twitter that she wants a title shot. She wants to take on Penelope. She's waiting for it. And I feel like this just showcased that she could take on Penelope and she can beat her. She did that while dealing in a tag team match. She did that with dealing with somebody who, again, you have to go through her to get to Penelope or to get to the twins. And so she did it. And I feel like, if Penelope learned nothing by the end of this, she needs to, like, I feel like this should have been a bit of an awakening. Like, well, there are women out here who can beat you. There are women who can do so without cheating. There's women who can do so without necessarily being super huge or any of that other stuff, or engaging in anything that you may engage in for, winning matches. And that she might need to kind of pay attention, or, if they do get this title match, like, how would she respond? Are you going to now give it your all? Or are you going to do a little bit of bullshit to kind of make sure you keep your title? Or are you going to go in like, it's a possibility you might not leave champion? I feel like that this literally showcased that Princess Aussie is willing to do whatever, and if it leads to a title match, she's willing to do whatever to become champion, and it's a good thing. And again, I'm not. I know Penelope's your enemy. I'm like, I don't really like what you do, but I respect. I respect you, but I don't necessarily like what you do. But you and her have a different beef. But I just feel like if her and Princess Aussie do have a singles match, and I feel like that's the only option after this. I feel like, where else did you go? I feel like that's the only way to go. Penelope might have a bit of a problem on her hands, because she proved that she can go with you. It's not like she's like scared. It's not like she was, she really showed out in this match. And I feel like that's the only option. Is like, you kind of have to probably go forward. Like, put them in a match, put the title on the line. Now, would it means they might not try to do any nonsense because it's a title match and it's something on the line? I think they would. But I do think, and I'm hoping, that somebody puts their foot down. I don't know for the life of me how people don't put their foot down in WoW. Where I'm like, all right, you gotta let people know we're not doing this. I feel like they need to be more in tune with that and not let everything happen. Where it's like whatever happens, and they're just like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm like, what's going on, management? Get it together. Like, put your foot down. Make sure they cannot be out there when that match is taking place. No interference. Let it be Penelope. Let it be Princess Aussie, or whoever the next person is, with no interference. Let her win that or retain it on her own merit. But we'll see. I do think that if this didn't prove anything else, that she can take on Penelope on her own, and I feel like that hopefully will lead to her having a match. But I thought it was a really, really good match, and I think she really, really shined in this match. And again, this is nothing to Candy Crush. It's just I feel like she's on a bit of a tear right now because she's trying to prove herself, and she did.
She really did. Like Princess Aussie really has proven that she should be next up. And it's just like Penelope, I feel is a person and is a champion. It's so funny because Princess Aussie actually told her in that promo when she challenged her, when her and Kandi challenged her, she was just like I want to fight you and that so-called champion. When you really think about it, like how many times in the past couple of months have we seen Penelope Pink fully, put her all into wanting to defend the title. And yes, she could say on social media that she is an attraction, and you have to wait and do this and stuff. And yeah, you could argue that a woman can do that because we see a man do it all the time. Roman Reigns, like we see that all the time. And Penelope, does have the right to do that, as a champion. But at the same time, when you're not so much as a fighting champion, that makes you complacent and it makes you feel like, well, can't nobody fight me. I have this crew around me that's going to keep, anybody from trying to take the title. So this means that there aren't any challengers. Nobody's good enough. I'm that girl, blase, blase, blah. But when it comes to Princess Aussie, she has shown improved that she is that girl. She has improved on her boxing skills, improved on her wrestling skills even more so. And then she fought the likes of Tormenta, who is a legend in terms of Mexican women's wrestling. Like she has taken down like so many people and worked her way up since WoW has started. And she deserves to have this opportunity to fight somebody who arguably has not shown that she is as dominant as a champion as she could be. You're like, yeah, you're champion by name, but as far as defending it, day in and day out, like some champions do, she has not done that. And what type of champion are you, and what type of credibility do you have as a champion if you are not defending it the way that other champions are? Now, of course, different champions are different things and different promotions run different ways, but at the same time, are you going to fight? Like you said, like, is she going to push herself to the limit to fight somebody like Princess Aussie, who is going to fight tooth and nail to try to get it? Like, what's going to happen here? Like, are you really going to fight tooth and nail on your own merit? Or are you just going to utilize the same old tricks that you've been using that's just going to make you look like less of a champion? Like, ma'am, like, step up your game. And yeah, I might be going hard on her because, we have our differences, but either way, like I want to see Penelope Pink, rise up and prove that she is the best damn thing that WoW has ever seen, it like she says she is. Okay, prove it. Fight Princess Aussie. Like, get in the ring with her and tussle for real, and leave your girls in the back. Leave them in the back. Because Princess Aussie has proven that she doesn't need help. You need to prove that you don't need help since you want to be Miss I'm the champion, blah, blah, blah. No, like, be that girl. But Princess Aussie is ready. She has shown and proved that she is ready. And when it comes to the authority figures, yeah, Katrina, you are right that there needs to be, you know, some substance to putting your foot down and keeping so many of these women, and this isn't just with the Fab Four, this is with all the women, like so many of these women, and stopping them from doing such negative things, and telling the referees, to actually keep their head on a swivel when it comes to shenanigans, because they do a bad job of that too. Like, there's just so much that needs to be, rectified when it comes to these matches happening, when it comes to interferences. Like, there needs to be rules in place, there needs to be DQs in place, there needs to be so many different things in place to actually even up the odds with these women so they don't feel like they're fighting an unfair fight. Because you had the Heavy Metal Sisters, interfering and messing up Sandy Shore's opportunity. You had like so many different, there's just been so many situations where that has happened over the past couple of weeks. And, I'm just a little bit tired of it. Like, we're just tired of it. We need action. We need discipline. Okay. Like, it's a fun show and it's a cool show or whatnot, but come on now. We need discipline. But that pretty much ends this episode of WoW. And I also wanted to mention something interesting. In the audience, they've had a set of twins in the audience. And someone on Twitter mentioned to me, while I was live tweeting when WoW was on here in Alabama, this past Saturday, that they're supposed to be joining the WoW roster soon. And I don't know exactly who they are, but at the same time, I do love that if it's true, I do love that another set of twins are joining the ranks of WoW. But either way, like they've been, in the audience over the past couple of episodes, and it's really interesting seeing them there watching everything happen. So if that's true, then that's going to be cool. But either way, like it's just really interesting to see those audience members there. And of course, always a shout out to Miss Mingo, who's at every show all the time, every taping. So yeah, that's the end of our time together. Of course, thank you guys so much for watching. Oh, we have a comment. It says, "Good afternoon, ladies. I missed the Beast as champion. Anybody know when she's coming back? Have you ladies heard about Santana coming back? And do you think she will be fighting for the championship?" Ooh. Latanya, thank you for dropping in with that. Especially at the end. We were about to wrap it up, and you just popped in. But yeah, I miss the Beast too. I really miss the Beast too. Because she'd never lost her title. She had to give it up. So by all accounts, she could come in and challenge whenever she wants to. And she hasn't been back lately. And I do miss her a whole lot. So I don't know when she's set to come back, when her return is, but we still need to figure out who attacked her. Because I still haven't
Yeah.
let that go.
Yeah, I miss her too. I'm hopefully she's back soon. I don't know what the progress she's had since she's been recovering and everything else. They haven't made an update since then, so we don't know. But hopefully we can see her soon. I mean, it would be nice. It definitely would be.
Yeah, so we have heard the rumblings about Santana. We've heard the rumblings, not our Santana, not our editor in chief, but Santana Garrett, who's had a past with WoW before. We have heard those rumblings, and I don't know if she will be fighting for the championship, but we just have to keep our eyes peeled because you just never know who could come back inside the world of WoW. But thank you for popping in with that question. And welcome to watching our show. So hopefully, you'll be back and watch it more. But yeah, like I was saying, this brings us to the end of our time together. Of course, thank you guys so much for watching on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook, and wherever else you're watching us. Of course, please check out WoW Superheroes everywhere you can. You can check it out on their YouTube channel because, of course, they upload their matches every Monday. So you can check those out if you miss it on television. You can also go on wowe.com and find out where it's listed for you if you want to watch it on TV, if that's your preference. And you can watch those episodes on Pluto TV as well. And also watch their other content, which are more documentary series on Pluto TV too. And just check it out wherever you can because they are growing in viewership. And just support women's wrestling because this show deserves to grow. All women's promotions and all women's TV shows just deserve to grow. And you can also watch it on Vice TV too, because Krista B from Those Wrestling Girls, shout out to her. She actually started watching it on Vice TV and was tweeting about it late at night. I believe it was on a Tuesday night, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you can watch it on Vice TV as well. So they really are growing in their viewership, and I'm really happy about that. So just continue to support women's wrestling all around in your indies, of course, your local indies, and on television as well, and on YouTube and everywhere you see it. And of course, support us. Follow us here on Women's Wrestling Talk on Instagram and Twitter at WWTalkPod. Check out our website at www.talkpod.com for all the latest news and merchandise, and also all of our latest interviews and articles that we have posted because we have a bunch of them. So please check them out. And also check out all of our after shows as you saw in the commercial for every wrestling show that's on. Please check it out as we continue to grow as a network and grow as a brand. So with that in mind, Katrina, thank you, of course, for joining me as you always do every Monday. Please tell everybody where they can find and follow you and what you've got going on.
Find and follow me on In Cat We Trust, Threads, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. The E is a 3 because everybody had the E. As far as what I have going on, I do have my last interview, which was a Corey. I'm working on another one. It's a returning guest again, another returning guest. And so that one should be pretty cool. I'm trying to get all these views again. I just been too busy. With a lot of wrestling the last couple of weeks. I legit Just haven't had time to do a lot of stuff. I've been doing too many shows. And so I'm trying to get all of those reviews. There's going to be quite a few coming up back to back. And so look out for that. And then you guys will probably not see me for a little bit until August, as far as if you're going to be at any shows. I have a little bit of a reprieve from shows. So I will not be doing any shows this couple weekend, but the weekend after I'm right back at it. And so catch me if you dare. But that's pretty much it.
Catch Cat if you can, okay? Catch her if you can. But either way, you do deserve a break though, because you've been going hard, and you deserve a break. So yeah, definitely check out everything that she has going on. But of course, if you want to find and follow me, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter and Threads at Queen Steph Hardy. And you can check out my show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, everywhere you get your podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and check out my latest interview with Yaya, the gifted one, who is the current Battle Club Pro franchise champion, set to go one-on-one against Mysterious Q at Battle Club and Jobber Tears Podcast, Jobber Slam 3, coming up this Saturday in New York. If you're in that area, please check out that show. And then of course his team Jobber Tears South will be facing off against Prolific in a 2 out of 3 falls match, so please check that out as well. It's a very heated rivalry that my post somehow got in the middle of, but either way, I'm not in that drama, I'm neutral. But either way, yeah, check out that interview as well, and just continue to support me as I continue to grow in my wrestling life and fandom, and also just in my real life as a whole, because changes are happening. I'm turning 30, things are happening, and it's just getting crazy. But either way, just continue to support Women's Wrestling Talk and the brand and us as we grow as individuals and hosts and writers and all the things, photographers as well. So with that in mind, this has been the Wow Superheroes After Show on Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. They're the twos, we the ones. We'll see you next Monday on the next episode of Wow. Bye, y'all.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.